The question came up how to use BobCAD to create a rosette, an architectural rosette. And it's very easy, and it uses the Revolve function. So the first thing you need to do is figure out the profile of your rosette. And because we're going to use Revolve, you basically, if you were going to use a bit to simply go down and cut the rosette in one piece, you need half of the profile of that bit. So I'm just going to draw one up quickly that looks more or less like a rosette. You can take a photograph of the bits and trace the geometry, or you can just make it up on your own. So I'm just going to sketch a few arcs together, and we'll see what we come up with. So I'll start with just a free sketch of an arc there, and a few more smaller ones. Like so. Now, I want to join these two with an arc that's tangent, so rather than draw a line between them, I'm actually going to draw a point. We'll sketch it there, and then use the arc between three entities. 2, 3, there. And we get a nice little arc there. Now, don't need that point, so I'm going to get rid of it. And we need to close off our geometry here, so I'm going to put in a line with coordinates. I'm going to start it at x0, y0, and end it at x, we'll say 2, or excuse me, y2 at x0. There's that one. Over here, I want to come directly vertical from this point, and the easiest way to do that is using the translate function. I will simply put a copy of this circle up higher. We'll say we'll translate it in y3. Okay, and now we can use lines tangent to draw that. Alright. Now I can get rid of that because it was just a construction point. And I want to do one last line horizontal. We'll do sketch horizontal. And draw that across. Now I can use quick trim to get rid of everything that I don't need. I don't need that, or that, or that. And my middle mouse button is broken, so I'm having to do things like pan and rotate manually. Don't need that little piece right there. Don't need the inside of that circle. I don't need the inside of that circle, or any of that, or that. Now, what I have is a cross section of half of what a rosette bit would be. And if this were a rosette router bit, it would have a shaft going straight up the Y ordinate here. And of course, this would be mirrored on the other side. And when you pushed it down into a piece of wood, it would leave the impression of this bit. So what we're going to do is draw this out and make it a solid so that the router can just cut this normally, or the CNC router can cut it with a non-rosette bit. These are big, expensive bits, and you're limited to just what the bit has. Obviously, as you saw, I very quickly created this geometry. I can modify it any way I want to. I can make additions. The way you create this is using the Revolve function. And the reason that I boxed it in like this is because I'm going to use geometry from here going around to here, and I'm going to revolve it around this line, and that's going to create a solid. So first of all, I want to check with caps so that it'll make it a solid. I want to check pick axis because I'm going to select this line as my axis, and I want to change the rotation angle to 360. Now once I've got those all set, start selecting the chain, click there, and then hold down shift and click there, and you can see it starts here, selects all this geometry around to this point. I confirm it by hitting the space bar, clicking OK, and you get prompted for this down here in the lower left hand corner. Then I click on the rotation axis, and you can see what I've got here is basically, this is a tool that I'll be using to Boolean subtract from a block. So this is basically, in figurative terms, this is my router bit. I like the preview here, so again I'll click OK or hit the space bar to confirm it, and now I have a nice solid. You can see once I get out of the tool and get into select, I've got a solid here. Go back up to the top. Okay, first of all, I want to orient this in the direction that I want it to go, so I'll use the rotate function. I'm going to rotate it around the x-axis 90 degrees. Select it, confirm it, hit OK. Why did that not work? Let's go back to this. I'm going to rotate this around the x-axis. Because I didn't set this. I had set it to pick, where you would click on a piece of geometry. I need to set it to enter so that it'll just rotate around 0. So I've got 90 degrees. OK. And I want to make sure that it's 90 and not negative 90. Yep, that's what I had in mind. So hit the space bar, click OK if you like what you get. Otherwise, I would have just put a negative sign in front of that 90. And get this back up. Okay, so now I have this solid. And the first thing I want to do is go to a front view and zooming in. I see that the top of the solid is at a Z of 1.96. Okay, so I want to bring it down, say 1.9. So I'll go to translate. Don't want to make a copy. It's fine where it is. I just want to bring it down 1.9 in Z. So I select it, click OK, OK here, there. I'll go back to a top view, and now I'll create the block that it's going to come out of. And I'm just doing this without really any regard to measurements. You would of course want to measure out and make sure that it fits your stock and that your depths are all right and everything. But I'll create a block. We'll say 5 maybe by, no, I better make that 7 by 7. And go into a front view. Looks like I want to bring this down 1 in Z, so I'll select my Z origin at -1. Yep, looks good. Alright, now going to an isometric view, I can see that my tooling solid is raised just a little bit above there. It makes it easy to select. I've got my block here. Now I just do a Boolean subtract. I click on the part that I want to keep. I click on the part or parts that I want to take away. Hit the space bar, click OK to confirm it. And there you go. Now at this point, I've got the rosette that would be cut by the cross section of this tool, or this tool, and I can save that as an STL. I can do anything you want with it. Go ahead and start tool pathing it. But those are the basic steps. Use the revolve function. You want to revolve with caps and pick your axis for this style of geometry that I got here. Let me blank this real quick just to okay, going back to revolve. You want to select your geometry. If you're making a tool to do subtractive work, then you want to go ahead and have the top to it and everything. Set your rotation angle for 360. Leave yourself a piece of geometry to serve as the axis, and then you just chain select. And always remember in BobCAD that the direction that a line is selected in is important. So in this case, I want it to start down here, so I click on the opposite side of the line to give it direction, and you see it automatically started there. If I'd clicked down here, it would have started the direction up there. And then to finish a chain, as long as everything is contiguous, you just come around, hold down the shift key, and click on the last line. Again, direction is important. And it knows just that you started down here, you brought a chain around, and the last piece of geometry you want in this direction, you held down shift, clicked, and now it knows that that's a continuous line. And again, confirm it with spacebar, clicking OK, and you're prompted down here to click the line to use as the revolve axis. Click that line, and there's your geometry. Very straightforward and easy. You do have to follow the steps in order, and you can play with this. It's a little confusing at first, but if you play with it a little bit, you'll have no problems. Just following that recipe of running it with caps and picking axis, it's important to leave yourself the piece of geometry you want to revolve around. If you want it to be a closed solid, then you need to have the chain go all the way to that axis. And from that point, Bob's your uncle. Hope you found that helpful.